Hello and welcome to episode 13 of Fourth Down Focus. I'm here with Kian, James, and Max, all four of us on this time. Been a pretty interesting week in the NFL, so I'll pass it over to you, James, and we can get started with some of the news.
Yeah, we'll start off as we always do with our teams. So, do you know what? I'll let him get out of the way. He's got the picture on in the background. Max, you can go first for once, because I'm sure for once you actually want to talk about it.
The Cleveland Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, everyone, in a snow game. Grant Delpit's amazing. Myles Garrett got 3 sacks. TJ Watt got none because he's shit. Jameis Winston he's my favourite quarterback of all time. Forgot about Joe Flacco already. James is better. And we're probably not going to win this week, but it's fine because we beat the Steelers. I don't care if we don't win another game this season. We beat the Steelers. So I'm happy. That'll my Super Bowl.
The weather, by the way, if anyone actually watched the game, I don't know how many of you actually stayed up and watched it, but my God, I couldn't even see on the broadcast half the time what was going on.
It was mental. I don't know where it came from either. We've seen the pictures where they're like comparing the first half to the second half. There was no snow.
It was just like out of nowhere, it went from completely clear to you couldn't see a thing.
And they want to make a dome in Cleveland and get rid of this beautiful snow game. Never. I'm not having it.
Kian, you can go next.
There's not really much to say. We're a terrible team. We're a terribly coached team. Our execution's terrible. The only positive is that Gardner Minshew will no longer play for the Raiders. I don't think he'll be there after he recovers from his injury. But talking about sports on Sunday, 3 of us had quite a good afternoon, didn't we? Whereas the man with the Matt Grimes and his silly mum shirt behind him didn't have as much of a fun afternoon. So yes, this is an NFL podcast, but wrong side. Leeds beat Swansea. That's all that matters with Sunday. So.
Yeah, for some it was their big cup final on Sunday, so we'll let them have their moment.
Swansea's cup final on Sunday, everybody. They were winning for a bit, and James said he enjoyed that, and that was all that matters.
Commiserations.
And we were offside again.
Got to enjoy it while it lasts. But Caden?
Well, it was our bye week, which originally a couple of weeks ago I wasn't looking forward to it. I think it's been quite a stress-free weekend for me, having to watch Zach Taylor's Bengals. The sooner he's gone, the better. But yeah, I just had a chance to care more about the other games that were going on, which was nice, instead of our inevitable loss by 3 points.
Yeah, I missed the bye week, if I'm being brutally honest. I don't really know what happened. I can't really bother to watch this anymore for the rest of the season. We're not going to win another game. As I said last week, I said I was too worried about DeVito potentially being too good that he may win us a game or two. I'm no longer worried about that being a possibility. He's getting mocked already by Baker Mayfield of all people, so I think it's just time to call it a day already with him.
Was it in the first quarter he did that as well?
I don't know. He scored so many points. I just sort of lost count of when it all happened. But at least Singletary got a touchdown, I suppose. That was something. I think
I needed Tyrone Tracy for my bet, though. Gamble responsibly, as always.
Here we go.
Not again. But, we just need to lose out the season. We're a second overall pick. All we need is Jacksonville to win one more game, and we should end up at the first pick. So that'll be something, and then we can finally take Cam Ward, and then this stupid halfback Shedeur Sanders, and let him go to the Raiders, and then he can ruin that franchise again.
Please do take Cam Ward. He's arse, man.
Shedeur is the worst prospect. I wouldn't even take him around.
Do you have eyes?
Yeah.
Genuinely, his accuracy and everything is miles better. Cam Ward is going to be a bust.
Nah. I genuinely wouldn't even bother taking a quarterback if we can't get Cam Ward. I just leave it and take a bridge or get like Nussmeier in the second round.
We offer you Deshaun Watson if you want him.
You know what? I think I'd rather have DeVito, and that's probably saying something. Just for the vibes, but so a bit different today. We're going to add something into the podcast for once, but we're going to start off with the games during the week. So first up, we have the Rams against the Eagles, and the big story of this one: Saquon Barkley, 255 rushing yards. I believe it ended up being 302 all-purpose yards if you include his receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Max, bit of an insane game, really. You'd have to say.
I actually didn't watch the game, but I was watching like the notifications come through, and I just kept watching Saquon's yards go higher, and I was like, "When's it going to end?" Like, I thought he was going to break the record. What is the record? Like 290 from AP? or something like that.
It's
Too
definitely
nice.
AP.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was getting close at one point, and I mean, this is why I said last week he's my offensive player of the year already, because he's putting up numbers like that.
Cade?
Yeah, I didn't watch the game either, but I was checking in every now and again, and I couldn't believe Saquon's numbers. Genuinely ridiculous. He was one of my offensive players of the year, but was it last week? I ended up going for Jamar Chase, but I think after this game especially, Saquon should be the favourite for it and probably will win it now.
Kian?
I mean, that's why you pay him the big money. That you didn't want to pay him. That's why you pay him. Just it speaks for itself, really. And the Eagles just keep winning, and I don't like it because I really don't like Nick Sirianni, and I don't want him to get any credit. But I don't know how much credit you can give him because it is literally all coming off the back of Saquon Barkley. So yeah, that's all.
7-game win streak. 7-game win streak they're on now, by the way.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not going to debate with anyone of why not paying Saquon was the right decision for us, but all I'll say is Saquon has 1,300. Huh?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, what is the point of paying a running back who was never that good for you, 20 million a year or something stupid? When you're on a rebuild, there's no point. Just let him go. He was never going to do this at the Giants anyway. If he was at the Giants, his numbers wouldn't even be anywhere remotely near to this. He's got 1,300 rushing yards. We've had 1,200 total team rushing yards. We're not exactly that much worse off without him.
Sorry, I thought you said you weren't debating it.
I don't know. It's just I just have to explain as to why we not paying him was the correct decision. I'm not
So you're
saying
not willing to debate it, but you're willing to explain it.
I'm not saying paying Daniel Jones was either, because it wasn't. They were both we should have let both walk out the door and just started from fresh, which is what we're going to finally do after a year.
We'll get onto that later, James. That's later in the podcast.
Yes, but I just and at the end of the day, like, I hate to see it doing for the Eagles because of all teams he could have gone to. I wish it was anyone else, but he was always going to be good. I didn't think he'd be this good, especially by the Giants. He was never really like as good as he is now, but. I think offensive player of the year. I did say Derrick Henry last week, but I think I'm leaning more towards Saquon now. They're very similar in terms of like the stats and stuff. I think rushing touchdowns. It is still. I think is it still Henry leading the way, or is Saquon leveled him now? I'm not sure.
I'll check for you.
Either way, like, it's going to be one of them two, isn't it? Like, I don't really think there's much debate outside of it being Henry or Saquon. And I think either way they deserve it. I think probably whoever gets more luck in the playoffs will probably end up winning the award. But yeah, it's just a bit of a insane little run for him at the minute, and should be fine.
Derrick Henry has 13 and Saquon Barkley has 10, and they play each other this week on Sunday night.
Is there only 10? That's surprising, actually.
Jalen Hurts actually has more rushing touchdowns. He has 11.
Bloody hell.
But half of them are touch pushes, so
yeah.
Count.
Right, we'll move on from the Eagles. Next up, we've got the Texans versus the Titans as a bit of an upset from the Titans coming into this game. I think they held the third overall pick coming into this game. As you can see, a decent game from Will Levis, but as I see, the highlight was definitely the running game for the Titans, especially Tony Pollard, 119 yards and a touchdown compared to Mixon, just 22 yards after he had that big game the week before. Kian, pretty big upset. I don't really think anyone saw coming.
No, I mean, it's a huge upset that the Titans have been, being politely, they've been shit. So to go there and win that game is huge. It's big for us as well because obviously draft pick. But yeah, Will Levis stepped up a little bit. Obviously, Tony Pollard's run game, we'll get onto that. But no one expects Will Levis to go into Houston and win a game. And we only got one funny picture as well, which is usually a measure of a good Will Levis game. So, if he can play like that more, then maybe they'll stick with him as the franchise guy. I think potentially they probably could. He just needs to prove it a little bit longer. And yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself. Look at the differences in them rushing yards between Pollard and Mixon. That's where the game's been won and lost. And yeah, big win for the Titans.
Caden?
Yeah, it's just another weird game for Texans. I just think they've been a bit lackluster, especially in the last few sort of games. They aren't the team that everyone thought they were going to be. And it's bad when you've got Texans fans calling for CJ Stroud to be traded and for them to get Deshaun Watson back.
Take him. Please have him. I'll drive him there myself.
You can't drive.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think the Titans looked weirdly good against the Texans, which maybe says more about the Texans in that game than it does the Titans. When you let in Tony Pollard get those numbers, I think you've done something wrong. But yeah, bit of a trap game for the Texans. Don't know what to expect from them really for the rest of the season.
Max?
I'm just going to start by saying James said no one really predicted this, but in my predictions last week, I did say I'm leaning towards the Titans a bit, and I think this could be a trap game, and I was right. So I wish I actually picked it because we all had a terrible week predictions wise. I mean, shout out to Nick Westbrook-Akine. He's one of my favorite players at the minute. He's scoring every week. He's always on the ACCA. Gamble responsibly. Will Levis, big game. He's starting to play a bit better. We had a bit of a meme. It wasn't as funny as the first few weeks. And Joe Mixon was a big letdown. 22 yards from someone who's been so good all season is a bit shambolic, really. You'd expect better from him. And I think if he could have got going, the Texans probably could have won that game. So yeah, it's very, very interesting for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Kian said it about sort of Levis being the long-term solution, and I think it's a weird one because I said a few weeks ago, I've done a few like mock drafts and stuff on Twitter, and I don't see the Titans going quarterback this year if they get the opportunity to. I think they'll trust him for now, and they'll take a receiver or something like. I think McMillan's probably their best option to take in that sort of whatever pick they end up with. So that win probably propels them down to about 6 or 7 now, rather than being 3. But just a Mixon, just really weird game from him. He had one of the career game last week to this, and again Tony Pollard with 120 yards just come out of nowhere. He's been nothing all season, and it just pops up with that as an unbelievable performance. But the Texans are a weird team, as Kane sort of said as well. Like everyone sort of expected them to be better than they were last year, to build on it, to end up going deeper in the playoffs than they did last time. But at this rate, they might not even make the playoffs with the way they're playing. They keep slipping up in these games. I don't know what the schedule's looking like for the rest of the season, but there's bound to be a couple more difficult games in there before they get to the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see where they finish up on. I think they should still make it, but it'll be intriguing to see if they still can with how their form has been at the minute. Next up, Commanders Cowboys. Now, this game probably wouldn't have featured on here this week until the fourth quarter. It's 17-24 in the fourth quarter between these two, with the rest of the game having less than 15 points combined in all 3 quarters to then this. Caden, just an extreme ending to a game that looked really boring up until the end.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I think it was this and like 2 other games that were on Red Zone, so we were getting quite a lot of the games. And I didn't realise that all the points had been scored anyway. And then the ending of the game was just absolutely ridiculous. I'd never seen anything like it. And I think the shocking part overall is that the Cowboys actually won it. That's somehow the worst part of it.
Max?
If we just summarize the ending in case anyone didn't see it, I'm pretty sure it was 27-20 the Cowboys led. And Jalen Daniels again downfield, crazy Hail Mary sort of pass. And then Austin Seibert misses the kick to equal the game. They go for the onside kick, and then the Cowboys collect it and return it for the touchdown, which I thought was a bit stupid personally. I think he should have just probably taken a knee and just seen the game out, but fair enough. Cooper Rush, pretty good game, to be fair. We were all saying Trey Lance should probably get a chance. Rhymed again by accident. But I don't know. Cooper Rush is looking better every week, and maybe the Cowboys can pick up a few more wins this season. I think they'll get one on Thursday. Spoiler for you there. Yeah.
Really much of a spoiler, is it? It's pretty much content at this stage.
Yeah, weird game. The Commanders now on a 3-game losing streak as well, I think, which is a bit dodgy. I don't like the looks of that. Jalen Daniels starting to fall into a bit of a rookie slump, which James will be happy about because he can pretend that Bo Nix is QB1 in that draft. He's not.
Yes. Kian?
Just a crazy game. I mean, no one's even mentioned the actual how good that return was. Not the onside kick one, the actual return where he fumbled it and then span out the way of the entire fucking team and ran it the length of the field. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Max obviously mentioned the onside kick, recover, score a touchdown. I think it's really hard to expect someone to not run it into the end zone as much as he shouldn't have. If you're in that position with that field ahead of you, I think most of us would run it into the end zone. Let's be honest. But look, the Commanders, it's just absolutely criminal to have that snap out on a point after attempt where you need to score the point. The high snap. I mean, I don't think you can blame the holder or the kicker. It's not their fault. But that is just, like I say before, absolutely criminal. You shot yourself in the foot massively. And Jaden Daniels, although he'd already created some magic towards the end of the game to Scary Terry, sadly there was no Hail Mary shot this week. He just fancied doing that against the Bears because he is a prick. So yeah, Commanders. I don't know. I'm very skeptical about them now, but I still think they're a decent side. And the Cowboys, I also think they'll probably get a win on Thursday. Spoiler.
Yeah, I called it. The Commanders are frauds. Another loss in a game they should be winning. Still yet to beat a 500 team, and they're not going to make the playoffs. I'm going to say that now. They're not making the playoffs. I don't have any faith in them at all. Jaden Daniels has had a rut now about 3 or 4 games where he's not been as good as he was in them first sort of 7 or 8. He's just struggled a lot, and you can see it with their results just getting worse and worse every week. This is a game they should not have lost in any circumstance. The Cowboys have been useless, especially since Dak went down, and then they got 34 points. And yeah, that whatever happened in that fourth quarter, I have no idea. But the game goes from being, I think it was 10-9 going into the fourth quarter to ending 34-26. Like, it's just insanity how that's even possible. I mean, the onside kick for me was, McKean said, I think it was Turpin who returned it for 99, ended up completely messing up originally to then spin and then run the whole field and touchdown. Like, it was a ridiculous ending to the game. It's probably one of the most mental fourth quarters we've seen all season. I can't really think of another one where it's changed that much over in sort of, a 15-minute spell. It's incredible. But yeah, Commanders are frauds. They're not making the playoffs. And I've said this for weeks and no one listened to me. And I guess I was right after all. Next up, another game with a bit of late drama. The Bears versus the Vikings. Quite a lot of stats to go through here. I mean, I just added some key ones in, especially it was a good game through the air for these teams. Aaron Jones isn't on here. He also had 106 yards on the ground for the Vikings. Max, Vikings, another win, but took them a while to get there.
I was quite upset because I thought the Bears were going to steal this one in overtime. The recovered onside kick, which is quite a rare thing, to be fair at this point. It got me off my feet. I was giddy about that one. But in the Vikings, the power of Sam Darnold and friends managed to overcome Caleb. Caleb had a really good game. You can see the stats there. So did Sam Darnold, to be fair. I'll give him that. But it was a close game. The Bears managed to pull it back, which I didn't expect, to be honest. By that point in the game, I thought the Vikings were going to just kind of see it out quite easily. And I mean, yeah, overtime game, close game, divisional game. Vikings 9-2. Somehow, I don't know how they've pulled that off, to be honest. But they're not going to win the division because the Lions are too good. So that's all right, I suppose.
Kian?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Williams and Darnold both had unbelievable games through the air. As much as I love Caleb Williams, you cannot take that sack in overtime. You had so much time. Just get rid of the ball. I don't know why. Look, you're holding on to it. Eventually, you're going to get sacked. Just get rid of it. They've managed to get DJ Moore more involved, which is good. He's been a little bit of a passenger the last couple of weeks. So getting him back involved is only positive for the Bears. And just a quick one, actually, Max didn't touch on it. Jordan Addison, I'm going to ask a question. Do we think that's because Justin Jefferson's so good and they're having to double team him that Addison is picking up so many yards?
Jordan Addison is also just really good.
He is also really good.
Yeah, your point. I get your point, and the fact that he's so good, the fact that Jettis gets double teamed, but then you've still got to worry about Addison. I think that's one because he's just that good. That he'd probably be a 1 on most teams in this league.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's the Vikings. I just don't get it. How are they 9-2? I'm still not confident in them at all. They're not going to go deep in the playoffs. I think they're going to be exposed by a better team when they do eventually get there, because they are going to get there, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold, once again, proved people wrong. 330 yards from Sam Darnold. If you'd have told me that a couple of years ago, I would have laughed at you. But yeah, unlucky for the Bears, and the Vikings just keep finding a way, and it's starting to become a bit concerning now.
Kane?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game for the punter. I think everyone who you'd have had to get the over did get the over, which quite rare, especially when Justin Jefferson, I don't know if he got it, and Jordan Hanson played that well. Bit of a heartbreak for the Bears. I think the Bears' season's pretty much over. I can't see them getting the playoffs. And the Vikings, not many people are giving them the same treatment as the Chiefs. They always say the Chiefs find the way to win no matter what, but the Chiefs are apparently the best team in the NFL. When the Vikings do it, they're just lucky and they're not going to go far in the playoffs. So I think the Vikings getting these wins doesn't mean that they're a bad team because they're winning it in overtime against the Bears. I think it means they're a good team because they're getting the wins. I don't think there should be any argument against them being a good team.
The difference there is that they have Sam Darnold and the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly.
That is simply the difference.
The Vikings have a better quarterback, no? I mean, yeah, I told you all. Believe in the power of Sam Darnold and friends. They're going all the way. They're not, but Kane, you just said if Jefferson went over, he actually only got 27 yards and 2 receptions in that game compared to Addison, who went for 162 off 8 and a touchdown. So very much just not involved in that game at all.
Yeah, if you
as you said, when you've got
out of the game, then you've done well because he's their best receiver, but you're leaving so much room for Darnold to still cause damage with Addison because he is, as it said before, he could be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
Yeah,
as well as him, they've got Hawkinson as well, and Jalen Nailor's not a bad option either.
And if you look at the yards there, it speaks for itself. Hawkinson 114 and Addison 162. So it's all well and good locking down Jefferson, but if you're going to give up, 270 odd yards to 2 other receivers on the team, then it's pointless. You might as well just let him run free, because I think Vikings receiving options are criminally underrated in my opinion. It's probably like that trio of Addison, Hawkinson, and Jetters has got to be up there as one of the best in the league. And even if it is Darnold, he doesn't have to do a lot for them to get yards. He just has to put it in the right area, and they will make the play. Hence why, a 330 game from Darnold. But
I have a Vikings-related question.
Go for it.
Does Sam Darnold stay when JJ McCarthy is healthy again? Because I'm pretty sure he's only on a 1-year deal.
No, I don't think he does. Maybe it's hard to see them not giving him a contract, but I feel like they're going to put everything onto JJ, in my opinion. I don't know what you lot think about that one.
I'm not sure what they do, to be honest. But
I'm very, very 50-50.
It's not a cheap contract to pick up.
Yeah. If you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said no straight up. But with how he's been playing at the minute, it definitely become more of an argument, I think, in the last couple of weeks.
It does feel like a fluke season, though. Can they rely on Sam Darnold to do this again next year? Probably not.
I don't even know if they will, though. They might just keep him as a QB2, but I don't know if he's going to want to be a QB2.
You'd be paying a lot. You'd be paying a lot for him to be QB2.
If he's good this season, he's wanting to be a starter next year. But it might not be in Minnesota.
But I suppose everyone said Fields would want to be a starter, and he sat behind Wilson, so I don't know.
That's a weird situation as well, actually,
Yeah. It'd be interesting where Fields ends up as well next season.
They put Fields in as like a running back half the time. It's weird. It was really funny when we tried doing the same thing with DTR the other day, and it just didn't work. He's just not the same caliber of player.
No, but we'll move on. Next up, and the final game we'll look at this week, the Harbaugh Derby ends in a win for the Ravens. I mean, I highlighted this. It was sort of a game for the rushing. There wasn't really much going on through the air. Quite a few rushing touchdowns here, 4 to be precise. So it's all about the run game, as you'd expect with a Harbaugh game, especially when there's 2 of them involved. But Max, thoughts on this one?
I mean, there's that really interesting stat that I told you before we started about I think this is the first time ever, and maybe NFL, I don't know if it counts for college as well, the first time ever that a Jim Harbaugh defense has had over 200 yards put on them on the ground, which is quite the stat. I mean, you've got the talent to do it. Lamar's obviously a great rushing quarterback. Justice Hill, with that 151-yard play, got most of his yards there. And Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, you know what I mean? He does this stuff every week. I did have the Chargers in this game, and they let me down a little bit. J.K. Dobbins going out injured that didn't help them. A lot of pressure was put on Gus Edwards then. I think they put in Hassan Haskins a bit as well, but he's nothing special. Herbert as well, bit of a slower game. It's a tough one. It's going to sting for a while, I think, that loss. I think that was a big one that they really wanted to win, the Chargers, and they've got a few tough games coming up now. I hope they keep the form up, to be honest, because I quite like them as much as that'll annoy Kean.
Kian?
I'm delighted that they lost. I'm really, really over the moon that they lost, to be honest. The Harbour Derby right there is how football shouldn't be played. The Bears game showed us how football should be played with all them air yards. That is not how it should be played. No one wants to watch that. But yeah, Ravens won. I heard them getting a little bit overlooked on quite a few publications in the last couple of weeks. You know, a couple of losses and not been at the very best. But look, they're still the Ravens. They're still Lamar Jackson. They're going to make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure. Whether they go far, who knows? But yeah, that's just an insane rushing game, and I'm so glad I didn't watch it because it would have bored the arse off me.
Ravens Eagles Super Bowl, by the way.
God.
I actually think it might be.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game either. I watched bits of it, but I was watching the scores come in, and it's exactly what I expected it to be. I think I backed the Chargers as well in this game. I did think that they could get a win against the Ravens, but as Kian said, it is the Ravens. It's Lamar Jackson. I was stupid to write them off. I think they are looking like a very good team again and potential Super Bowl candidates again.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I mean, I also backed the Chargers beforehand. I think I'm really high on them at the minute. They've been great in the last couple of weeks. I think they were probably due a loss. They've had a really nice little run. And I think the Ravens are always going to be a tough game because when you're a run dominant team and you've got to face up against Derrick Henry, it's like, can you stop that run on their side? Because chances are they're the ones who are normally running the ball in their games, and obviously with Derrick Henry on the other side, you're going to have to defend him well. But 140 yards. Finally, he's got a game without a touchdown. I don't know when the last time that was, when Henry didn't put a touchdown up. But any punters probably will be fuming at the fact he didn't. But gamble responsibly. But yeah, I think, as I said, a very run-dominant game. No one really wants to watch it. It's just boring. But just, they do what has to be done. Both quarterbacks were rushing touchdown as well. That's not exactly all too common sight nowadays in the NFL with how certain quarterbacks are sort of led to be. But I think, just a big win for the Ravens. They needed it desperate as well. I did say on the pod last week they really need a win here, and that's why I was close to picking them, because they just had to win this game to keep themselves in that sort of confident of being in the playoff stage, rather than sort of scrapping towards, are we even going to make it? But a big win, and I think it was probably coming for the Chargers. So there's our review of the games. We'll move on to, there wasn't really much news from this week. There was, however, the best news I've ever received in my entire life. This news: Daniel Jones was released by my New York Giants. Thank the Lord, it's finally over. I couldn't actually believe it was true. I saw the tweet and I thought it was fake, and then I saw the Giants tweet. I was like, okay, no, this is actually happening. He's actually going. I did say the week before, I think, he did his speech, and it seemed very much like a goodbye. I didn't actually think he'd go straight away, but a week later and he's gone out the door. He cleared waivers today. So we're recording this on Tuesday. He cleared waivers today, so he's now a free agent officially. Where he goes now, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be the Vikings, which is, I don't understand why, but it might be the Vikings. If the power of Daniel Jones and friends leads them to a Super Bowl, that might be the most hilarious thing in football history. I'd love to see it just for the meme if it actually did happen. But we're finally free, and we can finally go and take a quarterback in the summer and start from fresh. The first time in 6 years, is it 5 years? Daniel Jones hasn't been on our team. It's very refreshing to hear, and I'm sure you lot are fuming about it. But Kian, I'll start with you on this one.
I can't say I'm shocked. I imagine he probably requested it due to the fact you were playing him at cornerback in practice.
No, it was red shit safety.
Safety. Either way, it's still ridiculous. Look, when you look back at his Giants career, you'll always have that time that he tripped over at the 20-yard line when he was free against the Eagles. The turf monster really did get him there. I don't know where he'll go. I to be honest with you, who's going to take him? I hope it's not us. I've got a horrid feeling that it might be, but I hope it's not. And just actually a quick funny story about it. My sister is currently Christmas shopping, and she was going to get my brother a Giants jersey. And she went, "Oh, this one's cheap." and it's been reduced. And she was this close to buying it. I was like, do not buy him that. He will disown you. So, yeah, if any Giants fans want a cheap jersey and they can deal with having Daniel Jones on the back, then they're pretty cheap online right now. But yeah,
I'd rather have none. It's an interesting point you make about the Raiders because they were one of the team's like favourites to signing him. So I'd love that to happen personally.
I don't want to hear it.
Caden?
Yeah, I think it was weird that it happened so soon. I thought they'd have kept him on the roster for at least the rest of the year. But I did read that apparently it was Daniel Jones that requested that he be let go, which I think if I was Daniel Jones, I'd also want to leave because no one wants him there. And unfortunately, the sad reality is he would need to leave. And yeah, rest in peace, Danny Dimes. It's a sad time to be a member of Fourth Down Focus that isn't James, because we got some very funny moments at Daniel Jones. Obviously, Kean said the best one when he got tackled by the 20-yard line. That's a great one. But he'll be missed dearly by me, at least.
Yeah, it's only going to be you three who miss him because it's certainly not going to be me. Max?
The one thing I've got from Vanilla Vic or Danny Dimes, many aliases, the one thing I've got from him being released is a message of hope, if anything. Because if the Giants can just take the cap penalty, just take the hit and get rid of him off the roster, maybe the Haslams will see this and cut Deshaun Watson. Please, cut him. Get him off the team. Fucking Diddy Watson. Can't be bothered anymore. I'm sick of it.
The difference is the Giants wanted to get rid of Daniel Jones. You're looking to get competition for Watson.
Yeah, no, we've actually announced him as the starter next year, apparently, which is painful.
You're so fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at least we made the sensible decision. I like the Browns are stuck with Deshaun Watson for the foreseeable future. So at least we don't have to suffer with it anymore. Although we did suffer for about 5 years. He should have gone probably after his first season, to be honest. But
However, I did see on that same article that apparently we're going to get him competition in the quarterback room, which scares me a bit. Because if we do like
draft Jalen Milroe.
If we do like a Falcons and we use like our first round pick to take a QB who's not going to play, I genuinely might jump off a bridge. So,
Jalen Milroe.
No. Don't want him.
No smile in the second round.
No. I don't want him.
Well, the Penix got some snaps, didn't he? Was it this week or last week?
Definitely got some last week.
Does it matter? Yeah. He's not doing all. He's warming the bench up.
We're just there until Kurt retires, really. But pretty much. Yeah, Kane said R.I.P. Danny Dimes. I'm not sure if Danny Dimes was ever alive, to be honest, but
Vanilla Vic was though. Vanilla Vic was.
Cheers for the playoff win, Daniel. But it's like the fact he got a playoff win is absolutely incredible. By the way, how has this man led a team to a playoff victory over a Vikings team that was actually really good that year as well? Like it wasn't even like a massive it was only the Vikings. They're actually really good that year. So yeah, finally over, and I just hope we do the right thing in the draft. I don't know what that right thing even is, to be honest. I'm not convinced any of these quarterbacks are franchise guys long term, but I didn't really, I don't think many people thought half the quarterbacks that have been good this year would have been as good as they were, especially Bo Nix, my QB1. But it's finally over, and it's an end of an era. And that is also the end of this episode. So we didn't say it at the start, but this is sort of a new format we're trying out. So this is our review episode of the week just gone, and on a couple of days later, you will see our preview for next week. We'll have our normal predictions as we always do. But for this one, thank you to Max, Kane, and Kian for joining me, and we will see you on our preview episode later in the week.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.